A defensive move. And here they come to the front straightaway. Bell grabs a gear, and that is going to do it. Christopher Bell goes back-to-back super speedway road course winner. Byron second, Reddick third. Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch.
Wow, how about Chase Elliott coming all the way back up to a top 5? Fantastic ending of that race.
The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas should have been a headline grabber for all the right reasons. Christopher Bell claimed victory after a hard-fought battle with Kyle Busch, navigating his way past the veteran with just over 5 laps remaining before holding off a late charge from William Byron. The race featured plenty of passing and intense competition throughout the day. Yet here we are talking about officiating confusion instead of celebrating great racing. At the heart of this controversy was confusion over which corners at COTA had enforced track limits. NASCAR was only policing turns 3, 4, and 5 in the S's section of the track, but not turn 6. This selective enforcement created significant confusion among teams, drivers, and even the broadcast team. The issue became apparent during Stage 1 when race leader Shane Van Gisbergen was consistently cutting turn 6 on every lap. Kyle Busch, who spent much of Stage 1 riding behind Van Gisbergen, was one of the first to notice and question the apparent discrepancy over his radio. Busch said, "I've just been around a few guys that aren't paying attention to the candy stripes in turn 6. They're just jumping to the red asphalt and staying inside of them. Very unclear as to what we're supposed to do." No drivers were penalized during Stage 1 for cutting the course in turn 6. Why? NASCAR had decided they would only enforce track limits in turns 3, 4, and 5, leaving turn 6 wide open for drivers to cut. But many teams weren't aware of this distinction. According to Jeff Gluck of The Athletic, NASCAR told drivers in the pre-race meeting, "Vehicles must run the full course at all times. You will be judged as missing or shortcutting when all 4 tires are on the non-track side of the red and white rumble strips that define the apex of the turns." Crucially, Gluck noted there was nothing in the drivers' meeting about which specific turns would be officiated. The confusion continued as Stage 2 began. Almost immediately after drivers were informed of NASCAR's policy on track limits, Kyle Larson cut turn 3 and received a penalty. When hit with the penalty, Larson expressed his confusion, saying, "I didn't know they were calling 3." Even the Fox broadcast team struggled to understand what was happening. Commentator Clint Bowyer addressed the confusion directly. He said, "Well, you heard me say it. All the drivers, every single one of them, all the teams are talking about that. I don't think it was a change. I think they just didn't include 6. On Tuesday following the race, Cup Series Managing Director Brad Moran appeared on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio to address the controversy. He acknowledged NASCAR's responsibility in the communication breakdown and promised improvement. Moran said, "From that point on, it played out well, but obviously there was some confusion because we had a lot of teams that had no questions, and I think we had a few teams that had questions, and that's our responsibility to make sure that all the competitors understand. So, going back, we will not make that error again. We will make sure that everybody totally understands." Moran explained that NASCAR had communicated its intentions but admitted the message didn't reach everyone. "We did a lot of work communicating and we felt we were in a pretty good place. In the Cup race on Sunday, in the first stage, we caught on a team scanner that they weren't sure about turn 6 shortcutting. Obviously, we watched it take place right from the beginning of the race, and we didn't have an issue with it." When NASCAR became aware of the confusion during Stage 1, they sent a communication to teams clarifying that turn 6 was not being policed. However, by that point, the damage was already done, with some teams taking advantage of the shortcut, while others were playing it safe. To understand this controversy fully, we need to look at how NASCAR approached track limits at COTA this year, compared to previous events. Moran explained that after consultation with teams and drivers, NASCAR's initial plan for the weekend was to place 400 50-pound plastic blocks, Tech Pro barriers, on the inside of those corners to physically prevent drivers from cutting them. However, after feedback from drivers about potential safety concerns if they were to hit these barriers, NASCAR removed them from most locations. This year's race was run on a course shortened by a mile compared to last year. Moran stated that NASCAR only policed shortcutting in turns 3, 4, and 5, but not turn 6 at COTA this year. This was a change from last year when turn 6 was also policed, but that was on the longer course configuration. During practice, NASCAR disallowed more than 40 laps for drivers shortcutting turns 3, 4, and 5. They also disallowed some qualifying laps for those infractions. Moran believed this enforcement had made their position clear. "We had no questions. No one came to the holler on it. We thought we were pretty clear." However, this claim contradicts the evident confusion expressed by drivers and teams during the race. Kyle Busch didn't hold back his criticism after the race when asked about the confusion. He said,
I heard they were going to police turns 4, 5, and 6, and then it turned into 3, 4, 5. And yesterday it was only 4 and 5. So they ain't got a clue.
Other drivers expressed their frustration as well. Carson Hocevar took to Twitter with a sarcastic message. "Hi, Jeff. I missed the memo that we could just go ahead and cut corners. Next time, if they could be sure to get everyone that memo, that would be great, especially since we have to work on Sunday. Thanks." Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic discussed the controversy on their podcast, The Teardown, after the race. Gluck explained how the situation unfolded.
But in stage 1, social media starts lighting up with a lot of questions because leader Shane Van Gisbergen is cutting turn 6 on every lap. People have all these pictures and they're sending in questions and what's going on. Finally, stage 1 ends and Kyle Busch comes on the radio, who had been right behind SVG, and he says, "What is? I don't understand. What is the rule here in turn 6? What's going on? How come he's going on the other side of it?" And they said, "Yeah, we see that, but don't do it yourself because, of course, you'll probably be
You'll be the guy,
the one that's gets a penalty, all that stuff, right?" So they say, his team says, "Hold on, we're going to check with NASCAR." This is during the stage 1 break. And they come back and they say, "Guess what? NASCAR says that they're going to police turns 3, 4, and 5, but not turn 6. So feel free to go through there." After the race, Kyle Busch was upset about this and said NASCAR ain't got a clue about what they're doing officiating wise, I guess with the S's. Now,
Bianchi expressed frustration that officiating issues were once again overshadowing the racing.
I don't think it changed the race, but
no, but we're talking about officiating again. And it's a minor thing. I just want to make sure, it's a minor thing and it really didn't alter the outcome in any way, but it's a weird little cutesy thing that probably didn't need to happen, And again, we just have a race where we don't have to talk about officiating, big, small, medium, whatever.
What makes the COTA controversy particularly concerning is that it represents the 3rd consecutive NASCAR race weekend in 2025 to feature officiating issues. The Daytona 500 ended under green despite a last-lap